Earlier this week, Nintendo announced that there would be another Nintendo Direct mini partner showcase, and honestly, they've done two of these before and they really weren't all that great. The first one was a bit disappointing, just not many games on there. The second one was a little bit better, but there were more higher expectations with the third Nintendo Direct mini partner showcase for a few different reasons. First off, Nintendo actually announced this early so that people could be prepared for it, which they hadn't done with the other two partner showcases. Second, it was a live presentation as opposed to just dropping a video so that people could watch and comment in real time. Third, we just had Sony do the PlayStation 5 unveiling yesterday, so gaming news is hot right now, and Nintendo obviously knew that and wanted to make some sort of impact. So how was this Nintendo Direct Minis partner showcase? I think it was the best one that we've seen so far. Some big announcements, some big games, and I really enjoyed this. What's going on, guys? I'm RGT85. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. But without any further ado, let's talk about that Nintendo Direct mini partner showcase and talk about why it was by far the best one we've gotten yet. So starting things off, we started with an absolute banger, a game that has been rumored for a little while now that Capcom was in development with this game, and obviously they've been very busy recently because a brand new Monster Hunter game known as Monster Hunter Rise is coming to the Nintendo Switch in early 2021. Now yes, this is a Capcom trailer, so we do have to split up the footage because Capcom doesn't like you talking good about their games and using their trailers, but holy crap, this game looked absolutely amazing. Obviously, Monster Hunter fans have gotten Monster Hunter Generations on the Nintendo Switch, but that was essentially just an upscaled port of a 3DS game, whereas Monster Hunter Rise is clearly being developed with the Nintendo Switch in mind as the main platform. I believe this might actually be an exclusive for the Nintendo Switch, as the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One did get Monster Hunter World, which sort of brought Monster Hunter into the main limelight, but it was very different than your traditional Monster Hunter game, whereas Monster Hunter Rise definitely looks like a more traditional Monster Hunter experience. The graphics looked very impressive, honestly. It was a huge graphical improvement over the original Monster Hunter Generations that we got on the Nintendo Switch, and it just seems like an absolutely great game. It actually seems like there's a bit more story in this game than in previous Monster Hunter games where you just sort of go out into the field, kill your monsters, and then come back. This game is coming out in March of 2021, so you don't even have to wait very long to play this game, and this was just a huge announcement. Monster Hunter is a franchise that I really enjoy, and I think Monster Hunter Rise looks absolutely great and is a great way for Nintendo to have a strong third-party game at the start of 2021. Capcom, like I said, is obviously very busy though, because they're not done with the Monster Hunter series on the Nintendo Switch, and they showed off another Monster Hunter game. Now obviously this game has a more of an anime aesthetic, and I immediately said, wow, this looks a lot like Monster Hunter Stories, which released on the 3DS. And yes, this is actually a new Monster Hunter Stories game. Now, Monster Hunter Stories is definitely more RPG focused than the traditional Monster Hunter games that we get. It's definitely more story driven, and the gameplay is a bit different as well. But I really thought Monster Hunter Stories was a fantastic game when it released on the 3DS, so it's nice to see Capcom still believes in Monster Hunter Stories and is actually trying to make this a franchise now, because once again, I think this game looks great. It definitely has a different visual style than Monster Hunter Rise does. It's definitely a different style of game, but look, the more Monster Hunter, the merrier in my opinion, and Monster Hunter Rise will be coming out on the Nintendo Switch in summer of 2021. So with having two new Monster Hunter games announced for the Nintendo Switch, Capcom started out this presentation very strong, and I already was in the mindset of, okay, this is the best third-party showcase that we've gotten so far. Anything else is just a cherry on the sundae with this presentation, and there were more games announced as well. Fitness Boxing Rhythm 2 is announced for the Nintendo Switch. Let's go, baby! Fitness Boxing Rhythm 2. Now, I really feel like they should do a collaboration with Mike Tyson with the Fitness Boxing series. Like, the man did his time. Everyone loves him now. Plus, it would harken back to the Mike Tyson's Punch-Out series that was, of course, one of the most popular NES games that we have ever gotten. Really, it's better than traditional Punch-Out because, well, you have Mike Tyson in it. Obviously, workout games are very popular on the Nintendo Switch, so a sequel to this game makes sense. sense, you can actually carry over your data from the original fitness boxing game if you're a fitness boxing fan, and the game will be releasing on December 4th. Now, I'm probably not going to check out this game, but if you are a fan of exercise-based games, this is a good addition for you. Next up, another RPG is coming to the Nintendo Switch. Surprise, surprise. And that is Disgaea 6, Age of Defiance. Now, the Disgaea series is pretty popular on the Nintendo Switch. RPGs seem to do very well, and this game looks just as zany as previous Disgaea titles while still remaining that same sort of aesthetic. I actually own Disgaea 5, but I never got around to playing it, but this game does look good. This game, Disgaea 6, Age of Defiance, will be exclusively available on the Nintendo Switch in summer of 2021, and Disgaea 5 is actually getting a free trial for Nintendo Switch Online owners from 9/23 to 9/29 as well, where you can check out the whole game. It's obviously a very long game. You probably won't beat it in that time frame unless that's the only thing you're playing, but definitely cool to see more Disgaea come to the Switch. Then we got to look at John Romero's new game, Empire of Sin, which is a game that I thought was actually coming out this year and ended up getting a bit delayed, but I actually think this game looks cool and it's something I'm interested in. I was kind of sad when it just sort of dropped off the face of the planet, but it's basically a mafia style game that has a very deep story with, of course, iconic mafia figures within the game, and it has sort of an isometric tactical gameplay stance to it. I think this new trailer for the game actually looks a lot better than the previous trailers that we've seen from the game. It seems like they've actually been working pretty hard on this game to make it a better game, and I think it definitely showed in this trailer. The Sniper Elite series is a series that I talk about from time to time on this channel. I do enjoy those games, and the latest entry, Sniper Elite 4, is actually coming to the Nintendo Switch as well this holiday season. Like I said, I am a fan of these games. I love the slowdown with the bullets in these games. I think that's just such a cool mechanic, just to see the bullet just sort of go through the character as you're shooting them, and I think this version of the game looks really good. If what we saw is actually indicative of the Nintendo Switch gameplay, which I would assume it is since they showed it on a Nintendo Switch, this game actually looks very good from a visual standpoint. Like I said, this game will be coming out in the holiday of 2020, so if you're a fan of the Sniper franchise, you won't have to wait too long. Then we got a sizzle reel of games coming out this month, starting out with The Long Dark, which I've never heard of this game before, but honestly, I might end up picking up this game today because it looks really cool. It's a first-person perspective where you're like basically like in the forest and you have to do resource management and just basically stay alive. I have never heard of this game before. I liked what we saw. I like the aesthetic of it, and like I said, The Long Dark actually comes out today. PGA Tour 2K21 is actually getting a physical release on the Nintendo Switch on September 25th. I've heard mixed things about this game. I've heard, well, the Switch version of the game just isn't very good. It's not quite up to snuff with the other versions of the game, so I will be passing on this. And Hades, which is a game that we saw during the last Indie Direct presentation, is actually coming out on the Nintendo Switch today as well. Basically a dungeon crawler game. I think it looks cool, but I'm just kind of over the dungeon crawler style of games. You know, if another one comes along that piques my interest, maybe I'll check it out, but Hades is coming out today on the Nintendo Switch. Then we got to look at Yuji Naka's latest game that is, of course, coming out on the Nintendo Switch. This is a multi-platform release with Balan Wonderworld, and really, I'm super looking forward to this game. You guys know that I love Knights. I have been waiting for a AAA Knights game to be announced, and well, yes, this isn't technically Knights. It does not have the Knights character in it. It is essentially Knights. It is the spiritual successor to Knights, and yes, I did say that eventually a AAA Knights game was coming, and this is it, so just deal with it. But honestly, this game looks absolutely awesome. I cannot wait for this game. The game features local co-op play as well. There's over 80 costumes. All of these costumes do different things for the main character in the game, and I just love the aesthetic of this game. It literally looks and sounds like Knights, but a more sort of modern version of the Knights franchise. So I'm really looking forward to this game. It comes out in March of 2021. So you've got Wonderworld and you've got the new Monster Hunter game coming out in March of 2021. Like, can we just sort of get in a time machine and travel to this month, because it's going to be a very busy month, but a very exciting month. Then we got to look at Rune Factory 5, which is coming out on the Nintendo Switch in 2021, and it looks like Rune Factory, but that's a good thing. Rune Factory is essentially the Harvest Moon franchise, but with combat. I've played a few of these games in the past, and I actually really enjoyed them. You know, you do the sort of stuff where you're gathering crops, you're trying to get a wife or a husband in the game as well, but then you also go into dungeons and battle monsters, which I think is a great diversion, and it really sort of breaks up the gameplay and gives you more to do than just a traditional, you know, Animal Crossing or Harvest Moon style game. This game is coming out in 2021. I am looking forward to it. I might actually end up picking this up and review it. And then the final game we got was yet another surprise. Another Microsoft game is coming to the Nintendo Switch. With Ori 2, The Will of the Wisps is now available on the Nintendo Switch today. A lot of people thought the Microsoft and Nintendo partnership was sort of dying down. Microsoft themselves said that they didn't plan on putting any more of their first-party games on the Nintendo Switch. I believe that was old sneaky Phil Spencer, who, you know, he's not a liar or anything like that, but it seems like he was lying, or at least misinformed, because Ori 2 is now available on the Nintendo Switch. And what's really cool about Ori 2 is that a physical collector's edition of this game is actually coming out as well. And yes, I will be buying this physical collector's edition. I think it looks really cool. I think the Ori games are very enjoyable games. It's nice to see more Microsoft games making their way over to the Nintendo Switch. Sort of gives some hope for the future. And this was the final game in this presentation, wrapping things up. So overall, what did I think of this presentation? I really enjoyed it, to be honest with you. There was a great variety of a bunch of different games for the Nintendo Switch. There was big announcements from third-party companies about brand new games such as Monster Hunter Rise. You're getting 2 Monster Hunter games. We got another look at Balan Wonderworld. We got Sniper Elite 4 coming to the Nintendo Switch. Ori 2 is coming out today on the system. This is what these third-party presentations should be about. Bigger titles, bigger name titles, games that people are going to be like, wow, that is a big deal. And I'm glad Nintendo did it in this way. I think there are expectations with certain Nintendo Directs, and I feel like Nintendo actually met those expectations this time by announcing this Direct early, by, you know, giving people a chance to be hyped about it. It obviously was very different. The whole tone of the presentation felt very different than the previous partner directs that we have gotten so far, and I think this was a great show overall. It was very quick. It was only about 17 minutes long. They got in all of these games, and now there's a lot of exciting games to be talking about for your Nintendo Switch, including 2 new Monster Hunter games. Like, that's just absolutely awesome. So for me personally, I really enjoyed this show. I know some people probably, if you're not a Monster Hunter fan, this probably didn't hit quite as hard as it would have for me personally. But like I said, you know, these are just my opinions on the show. These are just my opinions on what's happening in gaming. So your opinions may differ. At the end of the day, it's all love though. But let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this presentation. Did you think this was better than the previous 2 third-party partners presentations that we have gotten so far? And what games you're looking forward to from this presentation? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. Make sure you guys check out my PS5 reaction video from yesterday. A lot of cool stuff to talk about there. Thank you guys for your continued support on the channel. All the views and subscribers are just absolutely crazy. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.